Good afternoon, Santa Cruz County Public Media, friends and family. Thank you so much for every day watching us, putting a like in either Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. Thank you. We are very thankful for all of you followers. This is what makes us grow and continue to learn and continue to share positive and educational news in our program in Santa Cruz County. So it is such a pleasure to have today and meet your local candidates to Rachael Sedgwick.
Hi.
Rachael, thank you for being here with us. Rachael is running for Santa Cruz County Justice of the Peace as independent. And you know, one of our jobs for Santa Cruz County Public Media is for all of us, including us here in the studio, it's to get educated every day, to get educated about politics, to get educated about rights, about how to vote, when to vote. And it is such a pleasure, Rachael, to have you now here because I know you were not on the primaries because you're independent, so you will be showing now in November in our ballots. So it is such a pleasure. I know I have the honor and the pleasure to get to know Rachael, the person, and it's amazing also for the community. I know the community knows a lot about Rachael Sedgwick, your work behind what you're been doing, but you have a wonderful background, a wonderful story. Hablas español, te educaste en lugares como Colombia, viajaste a España, tienes un background de educación muy grande. Entonces, I would love for everyone in Santa Cruz County to get to know you and why are you running for Justice of the Peace. So, bienvenida.
Wow, well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it. And we love Nogales. I love this series. I love that you're trying to educate people. So that's wonderful. But yes, again, Rachael Sedgwick. I'm running for Justice of the Peace as an independent. Mm-hmm. And you're correct. I was not in the primary, and I'll be on the November ballot as an independent. And I'm running. I'm running for Justice of the Peace because I want to have an impact on the community. And it's related to my background in education. You know, we worked together at the superintendent's office, which was a pleasure. And so I got to start learning more about all of the things going on in Santa Cruz County and all of the really, really wonderful things that people are doing, but that are not so obvious to maybe the government or the community at large at times. And so, I'm sorry, did you want me to talk about my background?
Of course. I think overall, I love to have this space for our public. When they click and when they see, I think it's awesome, you know, that we can get to talk with all of our leaders on our community that are either running or they're presenting something. So I always think it's really good to get to know the person, like who is Rachael Sedgwick? Sure. Where did she go to school? What is she doing at Justice of the Peace? And then while we talk, Rachael, I would love also for our audience to get to know what does a Justice of the Peace will be doing, you know.
Sure.
So all those little things. So, you know, this is your space and you're more than welcome. But yeah, let's start with like, who's Rachael? What's your background of education and all those fun things?
Sure. Well, so I'm from Nogales. I was born in Tucson and we lived here until about 1987. So I left Nogales before I started middle school, and I graduated from high school on the East Coast, and then I came back to Nogales in 2003 as a teacher. After I got a master's in education, and so I wanted to come and teach. Wow. And I got my first teaching job at Wade Carpenter Academy in Nogales. And to tell you the truth, when I came back to Santa Cruz County, I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay. I came back because my mother was ill at the time, and she and my father had moved back, and so I wanted to be close with her. That was my biggest motivation. Right. But after I came back, I just fell in love. It's beautiful, the mountains. I love the people. I love the border. I love that it's so different. Yeah. And so I came back and I worked at Wade Carpenter and I stayed for a couple of years. Unfortunately, my mom did pass away. And at that time, I went off to travel and I decided I moved to Italy and eventually I moved to Spain and Colombia,
awesome.
like you mentioned. And then I started seeing in the education system, because I was a public school teacher, I taught English and lots of different subjects, but mostly English. I started to see sort of a problem with the education system, and I wanted to learn more about how you can fix it. Right. And that's when I started really learning about politics and the legislature, and especially in Arizona, because we had several court cases that actually came out of Nogales. Wow. It was Flores v. the state of Arizona about English language learning and teaching. And then there was a lawsuit against the state of Arizona because of the way they were funding the schools. Oh, wow. It was very discriminatory. And so I started to learn about how much of an impact the legislature has. Right. So I thought, okay, well, how do I learn more about politics and politicians? Well, my father was an attorney. He was actually an attorney here in town in the 80s, long time ago. Yes. And so I thought, well, law school, that might be something that would be really interesting for me. Yeah. So I went to law school. Wow. I went to the U of A and I started studying education law and also family law. And I started to learn about mental health, drug addiction, alcoholism, and those kinds of issues, how those issues and poverty impact children, and then how that impacts your entire community. True. So I was working in the family law courts, and I really was learning a lot about foster children and foster families. And I was learning from a perspective that I had never seen before. As a teacher, they don't always tell you what's really going on with your students. So that was wonderful, and my eyes opened, and as I was working in the family law courts, I realized how much of an impact the courts have on a community, and then I started learning about the justice of the peace. And eventually I came back to Santa Cruz County. I was a loan officer for a little while in Tucson, doing mortgages, people who wanted to buy houses. And then I came back in 2022, at the end of 2021. And I started working with you guys over at the superintendent, Mr. Velazquez's superintendent of the Santa Cruz schools. Yes. And working with the ESSER grant, and once again, learning even more about all of the wonderful organizations that exist in Santa Cruz County. And one of the things that I learned when I started looking very closely at Santa Cruz County is how much and how important the impact of our local government is. Yes. So much more important than the President of the United States, from what I understand. Right. So much more important than even some of the things that happen at the state level. It's what happens at the county and what happens at the city. So I live in Santa Cruz County. I don't live in the city limits of Nogales. So I was paying more attention to the Board of Supervisors. I see. And with the superintendent of schools, we would often go to the board meetings. Right. And I started to notice that it seemed like there was a big disconnect between the community and the board, and the way stuff happens at the county level or even at the city level. So I really wanted to get involved. And when I saw that the Board of Supervisors, the County Board of Supervisors, because they're responsible for the county budget, they're basically the most important people in our lives. Yes. So I signed up to run for supervisor. I thought, okay, it's time for a little change. I'm motivated, I'm passionate, I've got a lot of energy to study and to learn and to be brand new, right? To just put in all of the energy and put in the work. But after I signed up to run for supervisor, I started meeting people and learning more and more. And I realized that a lot of people wanted to run for supervisor. And that maybe some of those other people are better suited. They're better qualified for that position. Wow, okay. But me, with my background in the law and education, thought, well, I'm better for the justice of the peace. And it just so happened that Emilio Velázquez, right, he had to resign for health reasons.
Yeah.
So I saw, oh, wow, there's an opportunity here. And I decided to go for it. And since I signed up to run, I've really been looking very closely about what does a justice of the peace do in small terms and also in larger political terms, policy terms. And I realized what I've learned is that I think we all know in Arizona, we are moving toward putting more and more people in prison.
Yes.
And then we have a privatized prison system so that the state of Arizona actually makes a lot of money when people go to prison. And that the number of people going to prison has increased a great deal in the past few years.
I see.
So then I looked at Santa Cruz County and to see what's happening to the incarceration rate. Are more and more people going to jail or not? And then also, what impact does the justice of the peace have? And so that's when I met with Mary Helen Maynard, who was the justice of the peace before Emilio.
Okay.
And she helped to set up circles of peace, círculos de paz, which is right here across the way. And it's a beautiful organization that I also started to learn about in law school. And it's changed people's lives.
Yes, definitely.
And maybe a lot of people in our community don't realize how important it has been to help people. It's not about getting people in trouble. It's about making sure that people are getting the help that they need to stay out of prison, but also to thrive. And the Justice of the Peace can do that. And so I want to continue the work that Mary Helen Maynard started, that Emilio Velázquez continued, and to keep on providing resources in the community.
Wow. Rachel, what a wonderful story. Rachael Sedgwick, running for Justice of the Peace, because I think it's important for our public to get to know, like the names and get to familiarize once, we see you in the ballot. But what a wonderful story and background. And, like how amazing for you as a person also to get to know what was your strength, knowing that you wanted to change our leadership here in Santa Cruz County for better. It takes also great, knowledge as a person to say, well, this might not be my strength, but I'm going to move forward to what I know, what I've been doing, and where my knowledge is. So this is amazing to see you running for Justice of the Peace. And then, also to get to know all your background, all you're willing to want to see a community, and also how much you learn from organizations and the people they have been doing, our judges in the past, they have been doing great things in our community, and then you wanted to follow that path. It's amazing also for us to get to know, where are you walking, like where are you standing, where are your thoughts about it's true, getting to know all these incarceration numbers, and then saying, these people, all this, what can we do for them to integrate them on the community? How can we support our community? How can we move forward along with, all these families, all these children? And this is wonderful to get to hear, your thoughts. And then I think we're learning also the Justice of the Peace, like steps. What do they do? So what do you know that a Justice of the Peace does in our county? I think it's also important for all of us to get to know, okay, now we know what a Justice of the Peace does.
Right, what does the JP do?
Right.
Generally, the Justice of the Peace is, to me, it's the most human judge. And our Justice of the Peace, you don't have to have a law license. And there's a reason for that. It's because you're required to, it's a very human position. So there's a lot of protective orders. If there's been a domestic violence, or you're afraid of somebody, if they're going to attack you, or they have You go to the justice of the peace to get a restraining order, the protective order. You go to the justice of the peace for sort of misdemeanors, lower cost misdemeanors, drinking and driving or DUIs, those sorts of things. And then also the justice of the peace will determine probable cause to see if a case should continue, whether the state can prove that somebody broke the law and that this person is the one who probably broke the law. And so that's a really, really important position.
Right.
And what I didn't know before that I now understand is that the justice of the peace can decide whether or not somebody should go to jail or if they should be on probation initially at the start of the process.
I see.
That decision will determine how many people go to prison at the end of the process.
I see.
And so it's been really, really interesting to learn about psychology. And that's another part for the justice of the peace, the mental health issues. And there's a lot more information today in the world about our brains and the way people operate. And that there are a lot of people whose brain is a little bit different.
Yes.
And because their brain is a little bit different, there may be behaviors that look to somebody with a normal brain, they may see these behaviors and think, that's criminal, it's bad. Where it's actually not bad, it's different. And so the justice of the peace, I think, needs to really understand those mental health issues. That's why Emilio Velázquez was a wonderful choice also, because he knew so much about mental health and how mental health is related to drug addiction, alcohol addiction. And then for me, it's very important to understand all of the things that our community has to offer.
True.
How people have been dealing with their issues without any help from the government, because they have been, right? If you consider, for example, we know that there are alcoholics in the community. It's a part of life. It is a part of the way things are. So there are people who drink all the time. There's also a need to drive all the time, or to get places that are far you can't walk to.
Yes.
In Santa Cruz County, we don't really have a great public transportation system.
Exactly.
So that lack of a transportation system will make it so that some people who are alcoholic may end up going to jail because they get a DUI instead of getting some assistance for their mental health.
True.
And so I think that people in this community, we've been helping each other. We've been supporting each other. It's the churches. It's the nonprofit organizations. They're quietly. People very, very quietly. We help our neighbors. We help the people in our street. And I think that it's time that the Santa Cruz County government start to sort of expose or to show the beautiful, beneficial, wonderful things that we do for each other. And then to start to support it.
I see.
So all of this stuff with the budget that's happening right now, one of the reasons why it's so sad is because, for example, there is an organization in Rio Rico, right? And they're starting to give rides. Sometimes some people said the rides can be a little bit expensive. If the county gave to that organization a little bit of money, they could lower the price of the tickets so that we could all afford to use that transportation system. Then they could grow with some assistance from the county, and they could probably grow if they had a few $1,000s. So it's so sad for us to hear millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Exactly.
We could have taken 10,000.
I know. To make it grow, support.
Just change everything.
Exactly.
But slowly, slowly, I think we can still do that. And we
Yes,
just,
definitely.
if you have a little bit of energy, a slightly new perspective, and the willingness to listen, to ask questions, is what I've learned is the most important thing, I think.
Right. That's awesome. And that's great to see you, from let's say, a regular job, right? I mean, teaching and then working for the superintendent's office, and then also get all this journey for running for justice of the peace. But how amazing I think it's for all of us and then future generations and the students to get to know that part of Rachael Sedgwick running for justice of the peace, of saying, I really want to see a change. I'm gonna go run. I'm gonna get myself a little bit knowledgeable on the different positions, see which ones fits me better. And here you are, like running for justice of the peace. And then I love what you mentioned also, the justice of the peace position. It's like a very noble, position, because you need to understand the needs as well. It's the needs of the county, the needs of the communities, the needs of, the families, the children. So this is, great. And it's great also, to get to talk to people, the knowledge. So where can we see you around, Rachael? Where will you be? Because I know people will love to connect, to talk and talk more about what will you do if you take that leadership position, So where will you be from this time to November?
That's great. And I want to answer actually two questions.
Yes, please.
Because you also mentioned, you reminded me that I did not mention at all being on the TUSD school board. So when I was in law school, in my last year of law school, I ran for the TUSD school board. It was a big, big surprise that I won the election. And
Awesome.
it was very, very shocking. When I got onto the TUSD board, I learned it was tremendous. In part, I learned just working with the other board members and city councils or the fire district to learn that there are committees all over the place, and that's how things get decided, is by committee. And so that was a phenomenal education.
Yes.
I also, when I was on the TUSD school board, made a lot of mistakes. And I don't try to hide any of the mistakes that I made.
Right.
Because I think in the United States, our legal system, we say innocent until proven guilty. And once proven guilty, you can be rehabilitated. That you can go someplace, do something, and show that you learned your lesson, and that now you're not going to do that again. You're going to progress and do better, move on.
True.
I believe that. I've been through that myself.
Okay.
And so when I say that I believe you're innocent until proven guilty, or that you can be rehabilitated, you're not a bad person because you made a bad decision.
Exactly.
There's a difference between a person and the decisions that we make. I believe that to be true, and I've lived through it. And so I feel like I bring sort of that unique experience,
Awesome.
right? Because I have been through that process.
Exactly.
And I would love to talk with more people about it,
Yes.
one-on-one or in groups. People can always reach out to me directly through Facebook or Instagram. You can find my Sedgwick for Justice of the Peace on Facebook or on Instagram, or my personal Facebook. I will accept friends or whatever under Rachael Sedgwick.
Okay.
And then also I will be attending all of the community events that I can on Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
And I'll put on my Facebook or on my Instagram, I'll try to remember to do a check-in, I'm here, and to let you know, like on Friday afternoons,
I see.
there's a farmer's market on Morley Avenue.
Yes.
I think it goes from 3 o'clock until about 6 o'clock.
Right.
So I plan on being there every Friday afternoon from
Nice.
about 4 until 5:30.
Okay.
There's a community event, I know there's one at the M&M Orchards.
Yes,
For
yes.
you guys.
On the 14th.
On the September 14th.
Right.
I think there's one just about every weekend.
Right, and then there's the art walk here in Morley.
I'll be at the art
with
walk.
Priscilla Neftis, an amazing, artists here, community members, leaders, and vendors, local vendors. And yeah, this is amazing. I always mention, it's a great time to network, to talk, to make friends and, so awesome. So you will be there.
So awesome. And I have to agree, I love these community events.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, I would go to some of the events as a vendor.
Mm-hmm.
And that was those were the first experiences where I started to see so much good.
Yes.
What's happening, what people are doing, what you guys are doing with the M&M orchards and the nonprofits. We love Nogales.
Yes.
I mean, it's just all, the Whitner Museum, La Linea.
I know.
And it's all over the county.
True.
One of my other jobs is actually, I'm writing grants
Awesome.
to try to network different organizations.
Awesome.
So the first step is to find all of the organizations in Santa Cruz County. There are so many.
Right? Yes.
There are so many.
Wow.
We are.
That's great to know too.
Yeah, I think Santa Cruz County, we are sophisticated, we are progressing, we're interested,
Yes.
we're motivated. We've got to
Yes.
get out the bad news
Exactly.
and start showing the world what we really are doing here.
I love it. Exactly. It's true. It's true. It's full of art. It's full of movement, youths, education, exercise. So, yeah, I mean, and that's all, Santa Cruz County, it's moved by those organizations and those, people, leaders with will of making a change. So, thank you. Thank you for also, thinking about all these leaders outside and thinking, maybe a little bit, with a different view, maybe, or I don't know if how you're integrating a little bit of everything, the education, the community, the children, and putting all that and saying, I'm running for justice of the peace as independent, Rachael Sedgwick. So how are we gonna see you, Rachael, in the ballot?
You'll see me, so I think there's only going to be 2 candidates.
Okay.
There's a Democratic candidate.
Okay.
Miss Olais.
Okay.
And so you'll see, Adriana Olais, and
Okay.
then you'll see mine independent, Rachael Sedgwick.
And
I'll be on everyone's ballot,
I
Republican, Democratic. And that's also, I'm independent. I've been registered independent since 2001. For a long, long, long time.
Okay.
And I am determined. I work with Democrats. I work with Republicans.
Exactly.
I work, just the different ideas. And again, it's a lot of the way I do things now is based on mistakes I made in the past.
Exactly.
So I know that as a leader, when you get a leadership position, I think a lot of us, when you get that position, you think, yes, I've got all of the right ideas. I'm going to make big change. And you come in and you say, I'm going to do it all. What I learned is that it's much better to come in with big ears and a tiny little mouth, and that you ask questions, and that it's especially the staff and the administration, they already know. They know what works, they know what doesn't work, and any ideas that I have, I know that I have to put them aside and wait, because I don't have all of the information yet. So I really look forward to that. But yeah, I'll be on the ballot, independent. You'll see the 2 of us.
Awesome.
And I hope that you vote for me for some new progressive ideas and a focus on the law and applying the law as it's written.
Thank you. Awesome. So we know we're gonna see you here on the Art Walk, maybe in Rio Rico for the M&M Family Orchard event on September 14. From 10 to 2 p.m. And then our friends from Patagonia, Sonoira, that area, have you been around? How can they reach you? Just so we have it out there for everyone. Do they have a way to communicate with you? I know you share your social media. Rachael Sedgwick for Justice of the Peace.
Yeah, is the Facebook. And you can always find all of my information right through Rachael Sedgwick.
Awesome.
My Facebook or Instagram, it'll connect you. You can send me an email.
Perfect.
It's just Sedgwick4, the number 4, jp@gmail. That's also information is on all of my street signs.
Yes.
So if you see one, you can find my email on there.
Awesome.
And I will also, I'll be in Sonoira on Saturday mornings.
Okay.
They have a farmer's market out there. There is a community event. I think it is on, I wish I had the date. It's either October 5th or October 6th. I think it might be the 5th, in Patagonia.
I see.
There's a there's a citizens council in Patagonia, and they have invited several different candidates to come and meet up on that day.
Awesome.
And then there's another candidate in town, Carola Romero.
Yes.
She's having a gathering.
Okay.
And I think she's going to have another gathering. Unfortunately, this weekend, I'm going to be at a funeral in Elgin. But there's another one, I do believe, in October.
Okay.
And I will be putting together at least one event where we can meet. We haven't set the date yet, but I'll share that information on Facebook and on Instagram. To make sure that as many people know as possible.
Awesome.
I know sometimes people don't care.
right.
But if the people do care, you can come.
Yes, okay, awesome. Okay, perfect. So you're gonna be active around farmers markets, community events. That's awesome. And I know we're passing your information so our friends that are watching can share and get to see how can they contact you. Anything else, Rachael, before we say we close our audience? Anything that I'm missing that you would like to share with the public? And also, like any other candidate, you are open. You're more than welcome to come as many times to share the information, your knowledge, your plans with our audience. I think it's very important for us to get to know who are our candidates, who are we gonna vote for, and to encourage everyone to go and vote, to vote by mail, to vote in person, but just to go and vote. So anything before we close?
I can't think of anything. Well, I guess one last point, and I believe it's true for Santa Cruz County. Your ballot should come with a voter's guide.
Okay.
Read the voter's guide. There's at least a little paragraph about each of the candidates.
Okay.
I think we write that paragraph ourselves.
Awesome.
And so they haven't requested that information yet.
Okay.
So it might not exist for Santa Cruz County, but you can always spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, go to the internet and you can research people's platform, our ideas. You can reach out directly to the candidate. We're all human beings.
Yes.
And so definitely I love that. Yes.
Okay.
Do a little bit of research before you vote. And I also just want to say thank you. We love Nogales. Again, I love what you guys are doing. I think that you are changing the face of, for sure, Morley Avenue and Nogales and all of Santa Cruz County. So I just thank you. Thank you for doing what you do. And thank you for letting me come in and speak with you.
Of course, it's a pleasure. And we, as I joined a couple of years back, but we love Nogales, Santa Cruz County Public Media, and this platform. We're a nonprofit organization that it's been around for from Edgardo Muñoz and Santos Yescas with the specific topics to bring educational and positive news to our community. So our leaders are welcome here. This is your space to educate us, to inform us, and to share all this good news, all this county that we are amazing people that we would love to have and see a change, and we're working towards that. So of course, thank you. This is your studio, and please reach out, send us a message. If you know any other local candidate that haven't been here in our Santa Cruz County Public Media Studio, bring them in, invite them, contact us. Watch us through Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We are here for all of you to spread positive and educational news. And Rachael, we wish you the best. I hope you get to connect, to network with all of our community, and please come back to share some news, to communicate with us. And the invitation goes to all of you leaders outside in our community, and any artist, anyone that would like to come to our studio to share amazing news to our community, please come over, send us a message. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys next week for another Meet Your Local Candidates. We're going to start being very active from now to November. So everyone just stay in touch and send us a message. And thank you again for today. See you guys.